DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it.
24 billion and some change, $358,250,000. That's the total from the things that he just listed, which, by the way, is enough to buy 2 billion ping pong paddles for your stupid screen prints. Let's get to the first Donald Trump of his second term, his joint address to Congress. Toolman, right? Just said it right. State of the Union.
Admonish him.
I can't. That's what everyone
You
is.
can't sneak it in on me.
I did sneak it in on you.
There you go.
Admonish.
Keep it coming. I love it. It's a de facto State of the Union. You don't have to admonish me for that. So
It was his big lecture.
yes. Here's the thing. I don't know if when you were watching this, Pops, and we had a power outage, so we had to have this thing plugged into a generator, and I'm still a little woozy from the fumes.
Wait, you brought it inside?
I don't think you're supposed to do
That's
that.
not how a generator works.
Why don't you let Steven Crowder worry about Steven Crowder?
I got to tell you, you're a lot more fun of a guy with a generator in your house.
I get the work done no matter what. So
You're going to make me cough.
I was sitting there watching it on an iPad, and at a certain point, I just said, once you cut through all of the staged protests, once you cut through all of this political theater, once you cut through all of the virtue signaling, I'm going, the math is incredible. And these are just very specific examples. What President Trump did is he gave the irrefutable examples so that they couldn't just go out and fact check them and say, it's not true. So even if it sounds like a small number where he says 10 million here, 20 million for a Sesame Street in the Middle East, he's giving you numbers that no one can argue with as an example of government waste and fraud. And then when he talked about the investments from SoftBank, from Apple, he was giving you, there are far more dollars in investments and growth that we are going to be seeing. And there's obviously far more waste. He just was sticking the landing. And I think that shows some maturity. And we've actually done the math, both from his speech and from the budget that we're looking at large. So I know the math is going to get a little bit complicated later, but we do need to summarize it for you with generate more, spend less. Oh, yeah, that's the plan.
Yeah,
that seems to kind of, it's almost like all of us and our pocketbooks. So the speech was very well received from a lot of people. Even at CNN, they registered a 69% approval.
To the results, what was your reaction to Trump's speech? 44% of speech watchers in our instant poll tonight say they had a very positive reaction to Trump's speech. 25% somewhat positive, 31% negative.
Thank you, older, gayer Josh Gad. CBS even had a 76% approval, and you could hear the producers there going, So, everyone's been covering it. I haven't seen anyone do the math. We are going to corroborate these numbers, and of course, link in the description. All of the references are publicly available. It started off as a banger.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back.
Okay. So the left, of course, they were there protesting. Nothing from the left is organic. Have you noticed that all of these protests that used to take place, Black Lives Matter, the Pussy March, the Resist, the Scream into the Sky, that was one of the first term of Trump. Remember, that literally people screaming into the sky. Since we've seen the pauses, the freezes to U.S. aid and the other government entities, nothing. This is the first joint statement that he's given to the State of the Union. You can admonish me, I know, but I don't know how to describe it outside of that.
Admonish.
It's the first one he's given, and there were like 4 people outside. Comment if you've noticed that shift. There's nothing organic from the left. And as it relates to inside the chamber, they want you to believe that Donald Trump attacked the Democrats and that this is unprecedented. In case you didn't know that this was prefab, they showed up with custom printed protest ping pong paddles before he even started. Just put that into context. It doesn't matter what he does. They showed up with Team U ping pong battles.
Well, except for Rashida Tlaib.
Yes, right.
They didn't get one for her.
No, she was the one who had the whiteboard, right, with her stupid Dame Edna glasses.
She brought her own heckles.
She's a meme now.
Yeah. And this doesn't exist in a vacuum because we're going to compare it to, again, the left wants you to believe, civility, the right, they're responsible now for this division. This is new. Donald Trump is new. I mean, we had our disagreements with George W. Bush, but Donald Trump, he's the reason for the crack in our discourse. No, you can actually see how conservatives reacted with Joe Biden, with Barack Obama. We're going to give you the numbers here today because those matter. So, yesterday, you had Al Green with a cane. You had Rashida Tlaib doing whatever she does. You had resist shirts. I particularly love that the people wearing resist shirts, I only ever saw the words resist on their back when they were walking out like dogs that had been hit with a rolled up newspaper.
I think Ilhan Omar was trying to steal a chair in her hat.
Yes.
I don't know what was in there, but it was this high.
I don't know. Maybe it was her brother's visa.
It's like a dinosaur egg.
Or paternity test.
That's a big. The whole baby's in there.
Yeah.
Her whole incest baby is in there.
Sure, cousins.
So we've actually put this together for you as a montage where you can actually count the number. Spoiler, it's 33.
We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
They argue that?
Yeah.
It's not big enough to them.
Then the wrong direction. In fact, Joe Biden, the worst president in American history. There were hundreds of thousands.
You didn't get to see all of them. You would hear it because C-SPAN, I believe, was running the cameras.
Largest one-month gain ever recorded.
Mr. President.
A 41-point jump.
Nice gavel work.
They just don't
Yes, it
want
was.
to admit that.
Was that RFK?
140. And money is being included. 130,000 people. The Biden administration.
Sorry, guys. I know it's long. You got to
won't
see
be
it.
Much. No, you're not. Oh, lunatics. Repeat offenders while enhancing. Best to figure out. I'm a baby. That's what happened. Talk to both sides. Nearly.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning. Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat.
He's shaking his cane.
Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
He has no mandate?
Yeah.
You don't know what the word mandate means? He doesn't even use the cane. It's a prop.
Yeah. It's a weapon.
What are you, Mr. Monopoly?
Yes, it's a weapon is what it is, Mr. Miracle on
It's a
34th Street.
pipe.
I like how the one guy sidles up to him in the suit there and says, "You really ought to leave." And then they cut from behind, and the muscle is coming down the hallway.
Yeah.
That guy looks like Oddjob from the back.
Exactly.
It's like business going to pick up shortly.
He's not asking a question.
Yeah.
I do think that what was it. That's not true. It sounded like RFK.
I think it sounded like
true. I'm still a little conflicted.
I think it sounded like that bird-looking woman with the purple hair.
Yeah.
The one that looks like Nosferatu is a congresswoman.
I used to be over there. I wanted to still be a part of it. I'm sorry. Continue. So there were 15 ping pong paddle signs, including ones that said Musk steals, whatever that means, save Medicaid, so a lie. And there were 28 pink dresses, which I guess now just represent vaginas because pink used to be code pink, but they were the anti-war group. They've also disappeared. What happened there? I guess the Democrat Party is, not guess, they are the party of warmongers because they want never-ending war between Ukraine and Russia, a fight that isn't even ours. I'm just sort of, what happened to Code Pink? Can someone comment? What happened to Code Pink? Those were the ones protesting Bush. Kind of disappeared with Barack Obama, kind of, sort of had a little bit. They were on the periphery, and now they're nowhere to be found when it's the, I guess, no, definitively, the most anti-war president that we have ever had in modern American history, potentially all of American history. But here's the thing. You just saw 33, according to the media, and we'll compare this to other administrations. It's President Trump that is creating the divide.
He presented a very divisive speech that I think splits America even further apart.
Now, we know Donald Trump is a very divisive figure.
On what President Trump will do next after telling Congress, America, and the world that his divisive agenda is just getting started.
Grimace.
Donald Trump delivered one of the most divisive presidential addresses in American history. He did not try to unite the country or speak to the serious economic challenges facing everyday Americans.
Things that we all can get together on, and there was none of that.
We should write down, do not speak the sentence, polarization can't get worse, because it keeps getting worse.
It does keep getting worse when people post on Instagram and TikTok that they will be protesting when they've already had custom designed protest ping pong paddles. This doesn't work anymore. We know it's you, but here's some more receipts. Let's compare it to former Vice President Joe Biden. Let's respect the office. When he gave his 2024 address, he was heckled, not 33. I know what you're thinking, maybe 20 something, maybe in the teens. There were 2 interruptions. 2 interruptions. And by the way, they're clearly interruptions that weren't pre-planned, but people couldn't help themselves because I'll give you the clips of them. One of them was a guy yelling, a guest, over former Vice President Biden on the Afghanistan withdrawal.
Year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through my American Rescue Plan, which every American voted against, I might add.
The guy did it and was already walking out.
Yeah. By the way, that was the father of a Marine who died in the Afghanistan withdrawal.
Yeah, exactly.
And they arrested him.
A little bit different.
You're not going to get any sympathy from me for Al Green's dumbass.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
Al Green with a cane, or Ilhan Omar with, a ping pong paddle that says, "We'll bang, brother." It's a little bit different from the father of a fallen serviceman who actually might be mad about one of the most abysmal withdrawals. So again, only 2, not 33. The second one was Marjorie Taylor Greene yelling at former Vice President Biden to say Laken Riley's name, again, at a time when there were open borders and the rhetoric was vilifying people who believed that we should have strong borders. And of course, former Vice President Joe Biden got Laken Riley's name wrong.
Not really. I
remember this. Bitch gave me time for a water break.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal. That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals? To her parents, I say, my heart goes out to you, having lost children myself.
I don't even understand the response.
How many people have been killed by illegals?
Yeah, thousands.
Yeah.
So she doesn't matter.
Yeah. Not special.
Everybody dies someday.
She's not special.
Lincoln Riley.
I've been dead 4 years.
Abraham, freed his slaves. Vampire hunter. And then I remember this. I'm in my 30s, but I'm old enough to remember in 2009 when there was one. Remember this, Bob's Credit? There was one person who spoke out when Barack Obama was lying to the public regarding what was going through was a bill for illegals who would get health insurance, who would benefit from it. And Barack Obama was lying, saying that it wouldn't apply to illegals. It was one man named Joe Wilson who simply shouted out. It was a guttural response. You lie. And the media dined out on that for like a month.
The reforms I'm proposing would not apply to those who are here illegally.
I remember his comeback, too. His comeback was, that's not true.
Yeah.
Got nothing better than, remember? Yeah. The media, it was everywhere.
That was a very organic response, though. That was not a planned ping pong paddle. That was
exactly.
Just came from the heart.
Yeah. He didn't show up with a mascot suit. You lie.
Yeah, you lie is an exclamation.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was planned, he would say something like, you're lying to us, or you're not being honest. And you lie.
Yeah, it wasn't, hey, ho, ho, all your lying must go. Their shitty little chants.
No props.
Which paddle are we using, guys?
Hold on, I have another message on the other side of my paddle.
That's right. Oh, I should have gotten another paddle.
That's the Musk side. Damn it.
This is the one you spanked me with.
This is the Musk paddle. I wanted the illegal alien. Where's my alien paddle?
Call my secretary.
You missed the meeting.
Nothing is organic from the left. That's the issue. It is the left that you see. It's simply the tip of the iceberg. It is a byproduct of corruption, collusion, fraud across the board. It really is. What else are you going to end up with when you have an entire class of people who haven't worked in the private sector for decades and are beholden entirely to lobbyists, nonprofits, and those who work in the public sector? Well, they all have to follow lockstep. That's why it's never organic. It's much more difficult to get a bunch of individualists to have a meeting and all get on the same page, because conservatives, we disagree. We have a populist wing, we have a libertarian wing, we have an old school Republican wing. So that being said, let's put that aside for a bit. We'll get back to Crockett and Green. A major focus.
Sounds like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah, it does. Crockett and Green. Crockett and Green.
Crockett's the dog.
Damn it, we may not share anything in common, but I respect you.
It's the dog and it gets the marquee title.
I don't like that I'm an organized old fogey and you play by your own rules, but by God, you're effective. Bring in Crockett. Has she learned to speak English yet? Now, we've put together two montages for you to add up the math. Donald Trump, President Trump, again, he picked the irrefutable. So these are not the only numbers, but these numbers matter. Sometimes when people say, well, that's only 25 billion or that's only 40 billion and that's nothing, that's a drop in the bucket. Well, okay, you start adding up a few hundred billion as far as savings. Okay, we're starting to get there. And then you add up trillions of dollars in new investments. Guess what? That gap is now bigger because you've added to the revenue and you've decreased the waste. Let me just be clear. I feel the need to mention this every single time. $220 to $530 billion in fraud annually. The federal government. That doesn't mean wasteful spending, inefficient spending. Fraud, poof, gone every year. And the left doesn't believe that we can cut Twizzlers from Snap. So let's do this first. Let's add up the numbers. And we have this as a montage for you. So I want you to see all of it, where President Trump was speaking of Doge and pointed out some very specific, irrefutable examples. We'll make all of the links available. I'm telling you, these numbers are 100% correct regarding government waste and the math as to what this would cut.
I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps. Which is headed by Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
Salute, bow, salute again.
$22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender.
Hey, they're born that way.
Watch.
This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique.
Well.
$20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter
Scales of
confidence
gold.
in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change.
He's nailing the
Uganda.
timing.
$14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. I know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves.
Yeah.
And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education. The most ever paid, nothing even like it. Under the Trump administration, all of these scams, and they're far worse, but I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad.
So when people talk about common ground, what he just listed has to be something we can all be on board with cutting, right? The only person upset by that might be MAGA Lesotho Larry. He was a little bit, I get it. He's happy.
You never heard of us.
Not my president. Now,
Lesotho forever.
The total, and have the ka-ching here ready, Billy. The total number from what he just listed, $24 billion. $24 billion and some change, $358,250,000. That's the total from the things that he just listed, which, by the way, is enough to buy 2 billion ping pong paddles for your stupid screen prints.
Your text here.
$24 billion, and every single one of them, we would have to agree, right, is absurd. Okay, common ground. Remember how President Trump said, doesn't matter what I do, these people will not stand, they will not clap. You can't clap for $8 million to make mice transgender being cut?
Well, I mean, there is an argument to be made that if that proves that there is some mental instability and maybe patterns of behavior that promote violence or, social...
I don't know if you're going to glean that from mice. They're going to hump everything that moves and kill it after anyway.
Well, they're just going to feed it to trans snakes.
Pretty much. So when you combine that with some of the new investments that he laid out, and this, by the way, different way of looking at things. If you look at former Vice President Biden, it was always, and I've demanded increase. We're going to cure cancer. And more money for cancer. More money for schools. What he really means is tax dollars. Donald Trump went a different direction and talked about new investments that would generate revenue here in the United States. And we've done that math too.
The people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe.
And he's gay.
Building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA.
So the total, and we'll give you just a couple of caveats because I knew that the media was going to fact check him, but it's mostly right. His total is $1.3 trillion in new investments. Go check the references, link in the description. The actual number is closer to 1.2 trillion. He said 1.3 something trillion, 1.2 trillion. So yes, $500 billion when you're talking about OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank, Apple has committed to $500 billion, TSMC, $100 billion. But the issue there is that's on top of an already existing $65 billion. So I just want to be clear about that. The media is going to try and nitpick over the $65 billion that has already been invested. SoftBank, here's the one that the media is going to try and fact check. Now, we do know that there is a promise of $100 billion from SoftBank. But I remembered this clip as soon as he discussed it because he has been actively pushing for that $100 billion to be moved to $200 billion. And you know what? I would be willing to bet that he's going to get more than $100 billion.
I'm going to ask him right now, would you make it $200 billion? He can actually, believe it or not, he can actually afford to do that. Would you do that?
Uncomfortable.
Well, my promise is 100, but, he's now asking to do more. I think, with your leadership, my partnership with you, with your support, I will try to make it happen. All right.
He's very touchy, that man. He's like, oh, I figure with you, so strong. Oh, yeah, firm. Oh, yeah. Pilates? I don't know. Maybe yoga.
I didn't know
maybe
you could get that tall.
200 billion. I think you have to give me your plate. Yeah, diet? Okay, good. Wow, oh, Groot. Oh, fun Groot. He's always touching. I don't like when people are always touching when they talk to you. Maybe it's an Asian thing.
Is that, okay, I'll stop doing that.
Or it's a short guy thing.
No, come on. You know you're exempt. It could be.
Hey, Trump put his hands on Zelensky.
That's true.
That was a
power move. You know, the SoftBank guy was at home like, oh, don't threaten me with a good time.
I have to change my name to Hardbank.
So let's add this all up. If you add up the Doge savings just from the speech, now we know that there are hundreds of billions of dollars. Again, we have 500 billion about in fraud every single year annually. Let's just add up the ones that he listed. The Doge savings there, about $24 billion. Call it $24.3 billion. If you take the annual government fraud estimate, again, $500 billion. Okay, let's add the increased revenue as far as the investments. If you add the investments, you subtract right now just where we are to spending number. Just kind of pick that intersect. That number shifts about $1.7 trillion as far as waste versus revenue. You starting to get the picture? You starting to get the picture? Is that significant enough? And there's nothing there. Again, he's just taking the numbers that I think it's very clever, that can't be argued. Does anyone want to argue about shrimp on a treadmill? Does anyone want to argue that we should be funding a Sesame Street in the Middle East? Is anyone upset that Apple is going to bring $500 billion here as opposed to another country? Is anyone upset that SoftBank is going to invest $100? There is nothing to argue with. And the number of at least $1.7 trillion just right there from that speech is irrefutable. That's what I took away from that speech. It's about investing in America's future, and you should invest in your family's long-term security, your future, but don't take my word for it. Hey, if you like this video, you should know that there are videos every day because they come from the full live show weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you want more of a sample, you can click this video next to me. I don't know what it is. Could be a change of mind, could be a debate, it could be one of my appearances on The View. Have your puke bucket.